most important thing for us to do is to fight for the mind of our people. Dr. John Henrik Clarke. Dr. John Henrik Clarke was one of the greatest scholars and activists of the 20th century, dedicated to the liberation of African people worldwide. Through his research, his voice, and his commitment to Pan-Africanism, Clarke taught us that true liberation begins in the mind. Today, we explore his teachings and how they continue to shape the fight for reparations and justice. You can't understand what's happening to you if you don't know what happened to you. Dr. John Henrik Clarke. Clarke was adamant understanding the history of African people is not just about looking into the past, it's about reclaiming the knowledge that was systematically erased. For centuries, the true story of African civilizations was hidden or distorted. Clarke believed that to move forward, we must first know the greatness of our ancestors. The African Revolution is not about taking up arms. It is about taking up ideas. Dr. John Henrik Clarke. Clarke knew that the fight for freedom wasn't just physical, it was intellectual. He encouraged us to arm ourselves with knowledge of who we are, where we come from, and what we've achieved. In a world that sought to undermine African identity, the most powerful weapon we could possess was a correct understanding of our history. We have to teach our children that we come from a rich, long legacy of culture, history, and great achievement. We must not allow anyone to tell our story for us. Dr. John Henrik Clarke. Dr. Clarke understood that education was a tool of power. It wasn't enough to merely survive in a world shaped by others' narratives. He believed that Black people, whether in America, the Caribbean, or Africa, must teach their own history, not as victims, but as the originators of civilization. We are not just Africans in the Americas, we are Africans in the world. Dr. John Henrik Clarke. Clarke's vision extended beyond national borders. His call for Pan-Africanism was a call for unity among all people of African descent. Whether you're in the United States, Brazil, or Kenya, Clarke taught that the African diaspora shares a common struggle, a common history, and a common destiny. Reparations are not just for one group, they are for the global African family. Reparations is not only about money, it's about the repair of the damage done to our psyche, our culture, and our people. Dr. John Henrik Clarke. Dr. Clarke's stance on reparations was clear. It was about more than just financial compensation. Reparations, for Clarke, meant healing the deep psychological scars inflicted by slavery and colonialism. It was about restoring dignity, reestablishing cultural pride, and giving African people the space to reclaim what was unjustly taken. History is a weapon, and when you don't have a history, you're a defenseless. Dr. John Henrik Clarke. Dr. Clarke believed that those who control history control the future. For centuries, African history had been manipulated and erased by colonial powers. If you don't know your history, you're vulnerable to exploitation. Clarke's work, therefore, was a call to action, to educate, to empower, and to fight for the right to control our own narrative. The destiny of African people is in our hands, but we are not free until every African person is free. Dr. John Henrik Clarke. For Dr. Clarke, freedom was not an individual pursuit. It was a collective one. He understood that true liberation for one person meant liberation for all. This is why his work remains central to the reparations movement today. We cannot be free until all African people, wherever they are free from the psychological, social, and economic legacies of oppression. You are not free until every African person is free. Dr. John Henrik Clarke. This quote encapsulates Clarke's Pan-African vision. True freedom is not just about individual liberation, it's about collective justice. The reparations movement is not just about acknowledging the sins of the past. It's about ensuring that African people, both in the diaspora and on the continent, have the resources, education, and power to define their own future. We were never meant to have freedom. It was not part of the plan. That's why we must struggle to define freedom for ourselves. Dr. John Henrik Clarke. Dr. John Henrik Clarke's teachings were not just about recounting history. They were about shaping a future. He taught us that freedom, justice, and reparations are not gifts to be granted, but demands to be fought for. His life's work reminds us that history is not just about remembering the past, but about shaping the future. We must fight for the freedom of our people, intellectually, spiritually, and politically. We must teach our children that we come from a rich, long legacy of culture, history, and great achievement. Dr. John Henrik Clarke. Dr. Clarke's teachings continue to echo through every movement for justice, every call for reparations, and every attempt to uplift the African diaspora. It is up to us to carry forward his legacy, to know our history, to demand justice, to ensure that the world recognizes the true value of African people and their contributions. The struggle continues. Reclaim our history. Demand reparations. Thank you, Dr. John Henrik Clarke, for being one of our grand masters. Until we reclaim our history, we will never truly be free.